young and I began to think about doing things besides drawing in my textbooks, I would do different kinds of things. And over the years, you kind of go away from stuff. There was a long period of time where I was building furniture or building parts of houses, and you kind of get off in different directions. And somewhere along the line, after trying pastels, I have oils and acrylics and just all kinds of things, some of us experiment with all kinds of things. I'm sure you can identify with that until you seem to come, or I seem to come to this watercolor thing that just pleases me enormously. And so we come here to hear about other people who are pleased enormously. The lady you're going to listen to tonight is, in my opinion, one of the most creative people I ever met. Yeah. Because she just goes off in, is she groaning in the background? She just does, it wouldn't be just watercolor, it wouldn't be just oils, it wouldn't be any pastels or I haven't even seen, I've been inside her house, it's covered with artwork. The pottery, the ceramics, just, it doesn't, there's no end to which way she'll go. So when she works in watercolors, she says, you know, I start to paint a realistic sort of thing, and then it begins to become abstract. I'm looking at that painting over there before, the trees, it's alive. The trees are on fire. Just, she's a very powerful painter and a tremendously creative lady. So, without any more groans, Carol Molnar.
I would push you, but you might get extra work. Okay, I'm glad that some of you decided to come tonight, even though the weather was kind of weird. But I have to let you know that this is a frightening thing for me, and the only reason I said yes is because Mike said he was in trouble because the person who was supposed to do this, a member of their family came down with cancer, and it was like, oh, you know, I just kind of, okay, I'll do it, you know, because that to me is a horrific thing. So anyway, the last time I taught anybody anything or demonstrated anything, it was well over 18 years ago, and the people were 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. Now, being a frightened person talking in a crowd, I know you're told to imagine the people naked. And if you guys don't mind, I'd rather imagine you as 9-year-olds.
We can do that. It's just us chickens.
Okay. When I think about having taught, and by the way, I taught all the grades, 1st through 12th grade, not kindergarten, but my favorite were the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. But I'm going to say we because there's a gal who I befriended and taught with for a long time, blah, blah, blah. But we would buy, actually through BOCES, we would rent a movie that we showed often. And I hope that someday for one of our demonstration things, we can show that movie because it went out of print and we could no longer get it through BOCES. And when I retired, I looked it up and I found it and I bought it, gave it to Birchfield because at that time I was a docent at the Birchfield and we were using it there, but I made a copy. And I guess that's okay and legal because I'd only use it for educational purposes. But anyway, the movie is called Why Man Creates, and I think it's only about 30-some minutes long, and I don't know who I'd have to talk to about arranging something like that, but boy, I would love to have everybody watch that movie. It's just a favorite of mine because it deals with why people create. And even though it was a movie that was made, I'm going to say in the 60s, it's so pertinent to today because there's animation and there's live people that they interviewed during this movie, and then there's actors, and what it does is it takes you in the beginning right through art history. It takes you right through the course of history. All the way from the caveman, the Lascaux paintings, on the cave walls, to, atomic times. Anyway, my favorite part was when the screen turned purple and you saw these little drawn monks walking across the screen, and they were singing, "What is the shape of the earth? Flat. What happens when you get to the edge? You fall off. Does the earth move? Never." Anyway, I just love that part. So I had to tell it to you. But as it goes through the art process, it takes you through, the thing of, trying to do your work, and then the critiquing of people, and it just goes through everything. And to finally answer the question, why does man create? And it speaks of how some people, they speak eloquently, and they show you the music, the Baroque times and whatnot, and people who create because they're burning with faith, or people who create because they're just celebrating life. And then there's people who create and they're almost mute, but they're still creating. And so anyway, I can't talk enough about that movie, and I would hope that we show it sometime. So I'm putting that out there. Okay. Now, no matter what the reason is why we create, I think the first thing first is there's that gut-wrenching thing that happens to you. And this is what I used to say to my students. If you have a question about your work, or what your subject matter might be, or whether you're done or not, ask yourself this question. Does it quiver your liver? Does it tickle your tummy? And does it knock your socks off? And if you say yes to any or all of those questions, you've got your answer, you're golden. And that's what happens when I think any of us, I'm going to get some water, when any of us make a choice about what to paint or draw. You see that thing, and it's just, So that's kind of what happened when I guess you'd call my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law's wife, right? Yeah. So my sister-in-law sent me a photograph of her husband, my husband's brother. And where is it? Here it is. This is the one she sent me right here. There's a little more gravel down here, but that's basically what it was. And right away it was, I've got to paint that. Now they don't know that I did it, so I can't wait for them to get it. But I remember showing Marty this picture, and we both said, that cat's got to move. This even though this picture is wonderful, the cat has to be placed someplace else. And we both agreed it had to be over there. So that's what I did. I, did a copy of the cat and moved it over and thought, yep, okay, there's the cat. And this is the painting that resulted from it. And you can see where, now when I paint from a photograph, it's just kind of easy. You just kind of sit there and you look at the color or the texture and you say, okay, what would make that? And then you do it. It's like paint by number. That's right? Isn't that what it's like?
Yeah.
You just kind of do that. But anyway, the composition has to be wonderful. The composition has to make sense to you. And this is part of teaching. You tell the kids, you've got these ingredients. You've got these ingredients. And the ingredients are color, shape, texture, form, what did I miss? Line, space. In fact, what did I put? Hang on. When I was working at the Birchfield, one of the things I did was make up, how many times have I done things like this, but I made up, like little things like demonstrates shape, your geometric shapes and free-form shapes, and texture. It can be real or it can be implied, and space and how it creates, it's negative or it can create space. Color and all the aspects of color, cool, warm, your tertiaries and whatnot, you know all about those. And different aspects of line and how it moves your eye. Well, those are your ingredients, and I'm sorry, but see, having been a teacher, every time I sit down and do anything, all of that stuff still goes through my head. It's what I taught, so that's what I think. I think color, shape, line, texture, those are the ingredients that go into my recipe. Now it's a matter of putting the right amounts in and where I put them to hopefully bake the perfect cake or pie or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? And then that's my process. That's how I think. But again, that might be how I think because I taught it all in my life, but who knows. But anyway, so I moved the cat over and did all da-da-da-da-da, and I slowly went through, first painted this, and then I painted that, and then I went over there, and there was no rhyme or reason except what I felt like painting at that time. I don't know if there's a rule or a law in watercolor where you have to paint a certain way, but that's the way I do it. His shirt was the last thing I painted. And let me see if I can write down. And after I put it in, I sat back and I looked and I went, and I thought, oops, sorry. And I thought, I don't think I like that blue in there. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to bed. I'm not even going to think about it. I'll think about it in the morning. It sounds like somebody from Gone with the Wind. But, and then I'm glad I did because I thought, oh, this is going to be a teaching moment when I come over here to NFWS. So I did this for me and I thought, I'm going to do it with you and see what you think. Okay? So what I did was I cut out a bunch of little t-shirts of different colors. And so now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, would that be a good color? And I have to tell you, I did something like this with my kids in school. I had made these big, colorful bibs out of Color Aid paper, that's fadeless paper, and had a little place for them to put their necks, And they would go up to a mirror or ask a friend, and they'd put different colors in front of them, and they'd say, what looks best on me? What looks best with my face? So it was kind of like the same kind of thing. Anyway, here's orange, an orangey color. Okay, and I'm looking at it. Let's tell you what keeps this roving here. And then there's yellow. Now you tell me when you think I get to one that you think is good. Here's another shade of blue, which I kind of like, What do you think? That's kind of not bad, is it? It's a better blue. And when I put the purple shirt on him, even though I'm sure he would never wear a purple shirt, because he's one of those guys, I love purple with like the oranges and the salmons, and there's orange and salmon in there a little bit, and I thought, boy, for my sensibilities, I kind of like purple, but yeah, no, where am I now? Then I went to like more of a more subtle blue, and that's kind of grays things out nice, I mean, I don't know, what do you think? I don't know. And can't see where I am here. Oh, and then a green one, because that kind of dark green, that kind of sagey green is in there, so there's green. And I think I did like a grayish, thought I did a grayish one. I thought I did. Oh, well, I didn't. Oh, well. Anyway. And then I put the black one on. Now, I don't know which one you voted for in your head, but for some reason, the black one did it for me. And I think it's because of the cat. He now, there's a nice relationship going on between him and the cat. So when I get home, he's going to get a black t-shirt. How many of you vote for black or a different color? I don't know, but I like black. See, it's all a matter of taste, but you can see where my thought processes went. Anyway, you're doing a black shirt. The dark blue is nice too, I know. Yeah.
Just tape the book Raven in it. I kind of like the blue color.
Nothing like playing dress-up dolls with your brother-in-law. Oh yeah, there was a white one too. I thought I had a white one, but I didn't. Anyway, that's kind of fun stuff to do, you know, when you're whatever.
Leave it alone, sign it.
Take your shirt right off.
So would you just take one and paste it on?
I'm going to just go over it in black and just make it a deeper black and a lighter, you know what I'm saying? I'll just kind of, but it has to be black, and I know that for a fact, yeah.
Are you going to enter it into the show?
Should I?
Yes.
I love the cat because I put a little heart on his back. Yeah, I just it's cute.
Move the cat.
Oh, I should tell you this. I, a lot of times, all the time, I'm listening to music. Becky turned me on to Pandora, and you've saved my life with Pandora. And now I've got it where I can just get it all the time and not have to worry about where I am because we have that unlimited or whatever it's called. I know that you have that. Anyway, Pandora, if you don't have it, check with Becky about how to get it because I play it all the time when I'm painting. Partly because it gets me up out of my chair if I have some really cool music on to dance to, but partly because you just need music. But I found over the years that listening to music, I sometimes will interject that into the title of a painting then, which is kind of fun. So some of my paintings kind of relate to a couple little words maybe that were lyrics to songs. And when my husband saw this picture, he says, oh my gosh, my brother looks like Willie Nelson. So now I'm going through Willie Nelson stuff. And he sings a lot about, well, you know, like death, or, you know, like I'm still here, I woke up and I'm still around or something. So I'm thinking that I might have a title that's like, I think I'm going to stay here a while, or I think I'm just going to be here for a while longer. And it just kind of fits like he's decided, this is a good place to sit. I think I'm going to stay here a while. So I was thinking of doing something like that for his title. I don't know, we'll see. So anyway. Back over there for now. Where was I? Here. I wanted to also talk to you about I was with my sister in Italy just for a little while. We were on the Amalfi Coast, and I had just gotten that iPhone thing, and I thought, people, you can't just take people's picture, that's rude. But I figured out a way to kind of hold my camera so it just looks like I'm kind of cradling it, and I took off the sound so that I could kind of click it and nobody would hear that, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, we're walking along this one street, and there was this shopkeeper. And I that face, oh my gosh, this man, I love this face. So I click and hope that it turned out. Now lots of times, when you're taking photos, it doesn't turn out because, you're getting weird stuff, but this one, thank God, turned out. Anyway, a year went by. A year went by, see? And I'm going through my computer pictures and looking, because I wanted to do some kind of sky picture with some deep clouds, so I'm looking for skies. And all of a sudden, this picture popped up. And it was like, oh, I just stopped and froze. It's like I forgot all about him. And the quiver your liver thing happened, you know. So it was like, forget the sky. Instead, I've got to do this guy's portrait. And then it was like, oh yeah, who do you think you're kidding? You've never done a portrait in watercolor before. I mean, I've sketched things in pencil, but watercolor's a tough thing to do. It's hard. I mean, the transparency and blah, blah, blah. I thought, well, I'll just try to do it. I don't know where I got the confidence, but I tried to do it, and I did it. And I did it. And I'm coming to the end of the painting, and I've been listening to music, and now it's starting to like become a vexing thing. I've got to find a title for this, you know. And I'm thinking, well, he's an old man, and there's a clock in his shop. I forgot where the clock was, but I moved it a little bit. And I says, he's, you know, contemplating his mortality. He's thinking about, you know, I don't have much longer. I guess Willie Nelson was in my head. He doesn't have that much longer to live, and blah, 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 blah. So I'm thinking, I'm going, you know, the Rolling Stones, all the different kinds of tunes from the Beatles, anything that has to do with time or whatever. Nothing was gelling. And I don't know why it all of a sudden popped into my head, but it just, oh my gosh, I know exactly what had happened that day when he was looking. There was a woman walking up the street who had ducked into a shop, and I had mistaken her picture because boy did I want to. She was dressed, well, I should say undressed, very provocatively. He was staring at her. I mean, look at that face. Look at that. Well, the painting titled itself, guess what song? Watching Girls Go By. So it just worked out perfectly. So it was. Oh, that's right. I didn't bring this painting because it's in a big cumbersome frame. But this is just a photograph of it, not a great photograph, but that's the painting. So it you know, but there you go. So, thank you. Okay. What did I want to say about this? Let me think. Oh, this is another painting I did, and I thought I had a photograph of it. I thought I brought it, but maybe it's on the back of something. Hang on, folks. Oh, no, it's not. But anyway, this is a sunflower from my garden that I had taken a picture of. And I love sunflowers, and so I was painting it. And, you know, you're looking at things upside down and backwards and in the mirror and blah, blah, blah. And I think it was 3 in the morning. I just couldn't sleep, and I thought, I've just got to work on this painting and find out what's going on. And I walked in and surprised myself with it, you know what I mean? Like it's new eyeballs now. And I looked and I thought, oh my gosh, that flower's not in my garden. It's at the ocean. It was just like, it's on the ocean. So I thought, so no sleep for me that night. And I continued to work on these, you know, clouds in the background that looked like, you know, some storms coming, and I kind of intimated an ocean back there and the whole bit. And again, now I'm wondering what to call it, but songs didn't happen this time. Instead, I'm looking at it, and I thought, that looks like something I've seen before, but it's a sculpture. And this is what it was. It was the Nike this is a sculpture of the goddess of victory. Yes, thank you. Wind Victory, that they discovered on the island of Samothrace in the 1800s. And don't ask me why that popped into my head, except I started thinking, here's the wing, and you know that, you know, the drenched clothes and the blah blah blah. So this one's called Samothrace Sunflower. Now there's a mouthful for you. Samothrace sunflower, but that's the way it goes, you know. I don't have this painting anymore. This is the one that was the first time I put a piece into one of our shows, and I walk in, and the lady that was at the gallery, she said she bought it. So I don't have it.
It was also on the postcard.
Yeah, it was on the postcard. I wish I would have brought that. I forgot all about having that photograph. Oh well, see, I could have brought that. Oh, anyway. Okay. What's next? Let me see if I have anything in my notes. Okay. 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 Number 3. I had to take notes, otherwise I'd forget what I was doing. All right. The Christmas tree. A lot of people in NFWS apparently make their own little Christmas cards, because I've been getting some from Carol over the years and some from Smarty Marty there, and I thought, oh, I want to do that sometime. You know, I should really do that. And so I was thinking about doing that when all of a sudden I was, you know, so it was like, oh no, I can't do too much. But I ended up doing it anyway. Did it?
It's over there on the table.
They're on the table, it's right here on the far right.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I'd gone to, it was winter last year, or the year before, and we had such a snowstorm, and I thought, well, I'm going to grab my camera and just walk around the house and see if there's anything out there that I can take a picture of quick before my husband starts blowing snow and everything's all ruined. And I have at the turn of the driveway, there's a tree my friend and I planted a long time ago, and it had all this on it. And it was like, okay, I took the one picture, and that's it. You know, that was it. I don't have to go trudging through the snow anymore. That's the one. So that sat there for a good year before I decided to do anything with it. I don't know why I do this. I don't know why I put things off, but I did. And I ended up doing this painting from it. And what's interesting about this one is I went to have it printed, and I didn't like the way they printed it because it knocked off some of the bird's tail, so I have a whole lot of duds, and they're sitting over there if anybody wants one. So there's a whole lot of dud Christmas cards if you want one. But then after I had it printed, I thought, now I can relax and look at this thing, and I added a couple things. I added a couple of oak leaves, kind of like my homage to Birchfield, because you know him with the oak leaves in the snow. So I put that in. But anyway, and here's, you know about happy accidents, all of you, right? You have to embrace your happy accidents. Anything that you think is bad is not. You have to know that something wonderful is going to come out of that. Well, I'm looking at, and of course I don't know where it is, but I was looking at a copy that I'd made on my printer of this picture, and I thought, and I'm painting and I'm painting, and all of a sudden I'm looking at, oh my gosh, I never noticed it before. It has icicles. There's icicles coming from the tree. I have to put icicles in, so I'm busy putting the icicles in. There were never any icicles in there. It was from my printer. I couldn't believe it. But I love them, you know? I mean, what a wonderful, happy accident. You've got to embrace those things and go with it. That's all I can tell you. So anyway, so there's that. That's a lesson. May I put this? Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. Now, oh, thanks. When I was at the last workshop and doing it with Marty, because we stopped doing that, we were co-coordinators together. Marty brought in something to show me, I think it was the last day, that her students had given her like as a gift, a little gift. She says, "Oh, Carol, look at these." I was like, "Wow!" You know, so I went right home and bought a box of them. And I don't know, maybe you guys are familiar with these things. But they're called brusho. How many of you have these things or know about them? Okay, one person, two people now. Okay. Pardon?
What are they called?
It's, I don't know why they're called that.
Spell it.
Brusho, B-R-U-S-H-O, crystal color, assorted pack of 24 colors. And what they are like dried watercolors that have been crushed into the tiniest, tiniest, tiniest little tiny crystals. And so I made a poster of the colors and what they do. And I'm gonna do a little something to show you how they work, even though I just started playing with them myself, so we'll make a mess together. But they're fun. They're dangerously messy and can be a problem, but they're fun, so they're worth it. Okay, it's like glitter or putting pretty things on a cake or a cupcake. You know what I'm saying? So if you're anybody who's like that, you're gonna want. So, oh yeah, here's the picture I had, but no, that's not the one. Oh well, doesn't matter. Okay. So I thought maybe I could do a demo that just started out where how I, what did I do with that thing? Oh, here we go. Yeah, here's see, look at icicles, but they're printer icicles, but they still look like icicles. But anyway. So I was playing with the brush show with one of the trees, but that's, you know, it's kind of fun. And also I was using some of my watercolor pencils on it and just kind of having a good old time with that tree. So I thought it might be fun to do a tree or part of a tree at least and just kind of show you how those things work a little bit. Okay? How's that sound for just to start? Just to warm us up here. Okay. All right. Now I know I have somewhere. Oh, dollar store. Wonderful palettes. Dollar store. Dollar store with these beautiful places to put your water. But anyway. So I was thinking it might be fun to do like a little graded wash and try to make this tree look like a tree. That's a lousy drawing of that tree. And kind of play around. And I thought maybe using the stencil paper might help to control it. Because today I was messing around with it a little bit. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I took the hairdryer to dry it off. And all of those little crystals went, and I thought, wow, I wonder where they landed and when they'll show up, you know, because if they get wet, you've got colors coming, you know, just out of nowhere.
I think it would be a good idea to turn off the light.
Oh my goodness gracious. That's a good idea. Thank you. Up where?
It's through the door on the other side, yeah.
Where is the fan?
Behind the door.
Behind you. It's good. Turn it
Oh,
off.
it went away.
It's gone. The one up there is not on.
How did it mysteriously shut off? Okay. Good.
So crystals are really crystal. water?
Pardon?
When do you add water to?
Well, this is where it can get kind of sticky, I found out when I was kind of playing around making this poster. And I did this for myself because there are no labels on here, just down on here. And it's like, okay, Prussian blue, but you want to see what it's going to look like. So what I did was I put a little bit of paint down, water down first. But see where it's doing this? I should have let it soak in more, because you really want to see what it looks like when it's crystally, not when it's like blending all together. Like, see, that's much better. No good, much better, see? So you just have to kind of make sure your wash isn't a puddly wash, but just a damp one. So just be aware of that.
Just a clear wash?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what color, you can put a color down, but I'm just saying that when you go to use them, you want a damp piece of paper. Now, you can spray your paper, but then what do you get, you know? I'd rather have a little more control over it. So anyway, so here we go. So let's say for instance, I want to put, I'm just gonna kind of cut a little thing out of there with my scissors that I can't find because I let me see. Oh, here, I'll use this. This will work. Where did I put it? Okay, here we go. Let's see it under here.
So you're gonna use the stencil paper so that it doesn't get into places you don't want it?
Pardon?
Are you using the stencil paper so the crystal doesn't go places you don't want it?
Correct. And it's not like you have total control over it, you know. Part of the fun is the accident, you know, but you want to have a little control, a little bit, so. Okay, so my intent then is to, when I'm ready to use it, see, well, that was a lousy cut, but let's pretend I did a wonderful thing there, okay? So I'll just put it like that. Okay, so when I paint, it's boring, that's why I didn't want to do this today, but, I mean, to watch me paint, I wouldn't want to watch me paint. It's like watching paint dry. Anyway, I would just, I'm very, very slow. So here I am. I always do this first. I'd say about 99% of the time I do this first. I paint it with water first. I don't know why I ever started doing this, but I got used to it and I like doing it, so I do it. So here I am painting. Maybe it's my way of just kind of getting to know the area, or just kind of, but I found out there's other reasons. Because other than just feeling the space and seeing where I am and feeling the contours, blah, 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 I'm also dampening the area to make the paint, to make the area receptive to the pigment. You know what I'm saying? So you get these wonderful little light washes. Now here's the trick though. You have to make sure, you know how a lot of times you want to first check your color to make sure it's the right one before you put it on your paper? Make sure the place where you check it is also damp. Because if you don't, you're going to be in for a surprise. So make sure that wherever you're checking, that area is also damp, so you know what you're going to get. If that's, otherwise, big deal, you can still do something about it, you know? So, here we are. I'm going to make this a pretty color. Let's see. The colors I use are, they'll tell you a little something about me too. Oh, this is so embarrassing. To see where I wrote on my board. But I take magic marker and I write what's in there. Because you know how people say, well, what color did you use? I'm just, it was green. So now at least I know, and there's a couple places where I threw a couple more in. The most of the colors in this palette came from, what's her name? She's a lady that's in NFWS. Yes, the golden ones. I like her. She's such a nice, sweet, she's got a great face. And so I bought her paint that she was representing, and I like it. It's really nice paint. And I've since, boy, do I know how to spend money. Every workshop that I've been to, the artist will say, well, I use this and this and this, so now I'm buying this and this and this and that. So I've got all this paint at home. You really don't have to have a lot of different paints. You really don't. So let's see, what color? Is there something on here that you want me to try?
It's your painting.
Okay. Let's see.
Turquoise.
You want to use the
What's
turquoise?
the OST blue?
I don't know. You want to try that one? Let's try OST blue. I don't know what that OST means.
Looks like
Here it is. Here it is, OST blue. Okay, here it is. Oh, by the way, these little bottles come with there's like a little nipple down, not a nipple, it's the opposite of what's the opposite of nipple? Indentation, thank you. There's a little indentation. There's a little indentation in each one of these lids. And what you have to do is make sure you take one of these stick pins when you get them. Never open them. Don't you dare open these bottles. Don't do that. Just put a little stick pin in there, and you're going to be shaking it out of that little nothing hole. I swear to God, it's just amazing. So anyway, just forewarned. I don't have to get this wet again, sorry. Here we go.
So there's something that covers the top and then you put,
The top, the lid, even though you can take the lid off because it's on like a little thing here, don't. No. I didn't do it. I knew better because Marty warned me. So I always do everything Marty says. Don't I, Marty? Okay, we're using OST blue. So maybe I'll do something, and I wish I could see. See, at home, I do this. I have my paint here. I put an L around me. That's what makes me comfortable. So I knew there wasn't going to be a light. Isn't this cute?
Yeah.
This is actual, good,
Daylight.
full daylight stuff, and it's on a clip. So that'll help me see.
Where'd you get that?
Oh, Amazon is one of my favorite go-tos. One day, I think it was around Christmas time, you know how you get those alerts through Amazon, oh, we're having this big Black Friday sale or what the heck, I don't know. And so I thought, oh, that looks good, I'll get that. So I did. That's how we dried up a little bit too. But anyway.
Are you using watercolor or your?
Right now, I'm just using my watercolor, and I'm using a purple,
Oh, okay.
dioxazine purple, whatever it is. Okay, so I'm just kind of, my thing started drying up too much here, but just want to, introduce a little bit of color to it, not just use so I'm just going to play a little bit here. And I want that inside part to be a little darker, so I'm going to mess with that a little bit too. Isn't this exciting, watching me paint? Yes. Anyway, one of my favorite colors is, I forgot what workshop it was, but Shadow Violet. Oh, is that fun? What a fun thing.
What brand? Who makes that?
No. A question, okay.
Daniel Smith, yeah.
Okay, Daniel Smith. I think I've got two that are kind of the same thing. And one is somebody else, and one is golden. I think, I don't know, I could be wrong. Yeah, Shadow Violet, Daniel Smith, you're right. You win the prize. Okay, my paper's drying again. Okay, so anyway, I was taking, oh God, I can't believe I'm going to tell you this. My hairdresser, Becky knows my hairdresser. Her name is Becky. And she is learning how to read people, you know, like when you go to like a psychic, yeah. Did you know that, Becky, she was going to become? Okay. Anyway, she also sells these things called Bach flowers. And Bach flower remedies is something where there's this belief system by Dr. Bach where if you ingest, whoops, I should really get rid of that. What am I doing? I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. If you ingest some of these special things, it's like a remedy. They're Bach flower remedies. And so I was telling my hairdresser, I think I might need some of your Bach flowers because I'm going to be doing a workshop, and what can help me focus? I said, and I need something that'll make me feel like I'm, what's it called, self-assured. And so she gave me, and I've been using those drops. Has it worked? Anyway, while it's still wet, let's play here.
It's like a powder.
Yes.
It looks like it might be some.
Has anybody else in this room ever used these?
I've seen paintings with them done. They're very intense.
You, I'm sure. It's a free toy store.
It's very nice.
But it's kind of fun. Don't you think it's fun? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
can you imagine just what you can use it for? In fact, one of the things I decided to use it for was the gravel when I did this painting here. I used it when I was doing the gravel. Wasn't that something, huh?
So the crystals aren't always shiny.
Oh no, they're not shiny like glitter.
Okay.
No, they're actual watercolors. They're actual watercolors. Pigment, yes.
And they granulate. The word granulate.
Well, it kind of is that look, doesn't it, of granulation? Yeah. Even,
What
yeah.
happens when you put water on it?
Then you're painting with it. You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. So now watch what happens. I'm just going to use it as if it's paint. See? Look, see? Okay. So now you can just paint.
So it's powdered watercolor pigment.
And I'm not getting any money for this. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but see, I mean, you don't know what you're getting because there's all these little powders there that are just popping up out of nowhere. So it's a surprise. That's the kind of thing. So anyway, that's kind of fun. What do you think?
Larry wants to know if after that you fix all those crystals that are unactivated on there. Do you spray it with something?
No. They're stuck into the moisture. They stay on. They stay
And
on.
they dry just like water.
And they would just dry that way. So you get these little tiny flecks of color. Yeah, you don't have to brush over them or anything. So just do with them as you will. Now, when I did the gravel here, I think I'm gonna, okay, let's do that. Okay, let's do some pretend gravel. when I was doing the gravel underneath the cat's tail, I know what I did. Oh, here we go. I first took this crazy stuff. These are, this is masking fluid, medium and fine, and then there's one that's kind of like in a little marker. So like, for instance, you can say, okay, I want to just make a few pebbles that are going to stay white, let's say, you know? So you do that and you let it dry. Should have done that a minute ago, because now it's going to take a bit to dry. But,
So Marty, why don't we take a break now? And then
oh, that's a good idea. Let's take a break. Is that what they, okay. Let's take a break.
that'll be better.
And then I'll do the other thing. The new gadget I bought was this light box thing, I guess you want to call it. But it's not a box. Look at how slender it is. It'll fit anywhere. Anyway,
We should cut that.
it needs to have that thing that your phone sticks into. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because the thing is the plug is that thing.
Wow, that's cool.
USB. And you press this little thing here and woohoo, see, you get this light. So why not own something like that, right? Instead of going up to a window. So anyway, the other day, I was reminded about my arborvitaes that are in the backyard. It was a kind of a breezy day. I looked out the bathroom window. Oh, I remember them doing that dance. Look at that lovely dance they're doing in the wind. I know I wanted to do a painting of that someday. It's like, okay, why not? You know, you're going to be doing a demonstration anyway. So guess what? That's what I thought I would do. So I went right to my sketchbook. And I've got a lot of sketchbooks. I just grab anything that I have on hand, a piece of paper, anything. But I went right to my sketchbook and I quickly drew the arborvitaes dancing. You know, rhythm. That kind of thing has to go on. You know, that repeat. And yet you don't want it to be jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way, where it's all the same note. You want it to be different. You want it to be the same but different. So there I am making these marks. And then I took a picture just to kind of remind me of what they were doing. And this is going to be abstract because I decided, oh, here's the ground. I'm just going to make all these little marks. And here are the trunks of the trees, and I think we need some kind of rock shapes, and blah, blah, blah. One thing led to another, and I'm going to have an abstract painting. Oh, speaking of abstract, I should mention that to you. Here we go. Is there a photograph with the lighthouse?
Yes. Not a photograph.
There's just oh, goody, thank you. Oh, yeah, could you bring the painting through though, in case people didn't see it, and then I'd leave. I went with my same sister that I went to Italy with to Peggy's Cove in Nova Scotia. It was a cruise. So you know how they take I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise, but you get in the bus and you take this little tour, and they say, okay, you've got an hour. And now we're in Peggy's Cove, which I don't know if any of you even know about, but it was like, I didn't know about it. All I know is I fell in love with it immediately, and I thought, I've got an hour? And all I could do was be glad that the gift shop was closed. because then I would at least be tempted to do that. And so I spent that hour taking as many pictures as I could. I was just running all over town, down the streets, taking picture. In fact, the painting of, if you saw the painting over there of the church, did you see the painting of the church? That came from Peggy's Cove. And I took that one. I'm really getting distracted here, aren't I? That focusing thing is not working. But when I took this picture here, it was like one of those quiver your liver things, you know, because I thought I have got to do those God things that are coming out of the sky, you know, those rays that are coming across that the field and that church in the middle. And I found out later on when I went online, I finally figured out it was St. Peter's Church or something like that. So that was my.
Can you move it over just a little bit? The light is there.
Okay. So I had. Is that right?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So I had to figure out how to do those God things, and I'm writing notes to myself. Well, first take, you know, this stuff and try to save that, and then save a couple of the God things, and yeah, and then you do a couple of washes, and one thing leads to another. But what do you think I actually painted first?
Church.
The church. I painted that entire church first because that's my focal point. I love the church. But anyway, good. But why did I bring this up? I forgot now.
Something about abstraction.
Oh, yeah. Peggy's Cove, that's right, with Peggy's Cove connection. So anyway, I took this picture of this lighthouse, and I just loved the shapes. I was like, oh, the shape, oops, sorry.
Move it over just a little bit.
Right here? Here? I love this, the way the light was hitting it here and here, and how everything else was so, you know, that sharp contrast of the light against the dark and the dark blue sky. I was like, oh gosh, I've got to paint that someday. You know, I mean, I can't even tell you when I went to Peggy's Cove. But with all intentions of making the most beautiful, realistic painting, this came out. Now you have to understand, these rocks weren't there. So I'm looking around to find rocks, and I found a picture that I'd taken, at Peggy's Cove at least, of these rocks, and I somehow thought, well, I'll just put these rocks here, even though they were in the other direction from the lighthouse. I don't know what happened. You know, it's just, this happened because I think I was just thinking about that contrast. I wanted it so much to look like an Edward Hopper. Are you familiar with Edward Hopper? You know, those serene paintings where the light hits the building and maybe there's a person in the scene and it's quiet and you just want to be there and breathe, you know? That's not quiet. I don't know what happened. Somebody took over. Now, we're going to go back to that spiritual thing that we were discussing earlier. I truly believe that dead artists use us. Are you aware of that at all? That when you're painting, or maybe when you're just, don't laugh, it's true. Don't you ever feel like Birchfield is in you, or somebody's in you?
Birchfield's in you.
What's the title?
I haven't titled it yet. Isn't that something? Nothing yet. So, but I'll let you know. And maybe I'll do it next time, you know, the right way. I don't know. Crazy, huh? Anyway. Okay, so the arborvitaes. I'm looking at these arborvitaes and I go, wind dance. Wind dance. They're doing a wind dance. And I love dancing, so I've got to do this painting. So I started doing that drawing that I was telling you about. And so I thought I'd demonstrate something that I've never done before. Is that all right? Is that against the law or anything? So, I don't know. So this is what I thought I would do. I don't know if you can see this, but I thought if I want these shapes, where did that thing go? Why do I lose everything? Here it is. So I was doing a practice thing because I wanted to see how the shapes of the arborvitaes would look. I was picturing them, but I wanted to see if I could do it. And this is what I came up with. Isn't that nice? I used contact paper, clear contact paper, and put it down on there, being the leaves, and went ahead and did the wash over it, and after the wash dried, then I went ahead and painted these guys on. So I thought I would do that, and so I've gotten so far as to do all of them except for one, so I still have to cut one out. So pardon me while I cut it out. And I used the light box to do it. It was a great thing, a great purchase. I'm so glad I bought that.
Where did you get the light box?
You know, I was thinking somebody would ask me that, and there's nothing, there are no marks on, well, maybe there are. Shenson? You're gonna have to come and take a look at this, okay, guys? You'll just have to come up and look. There's a whole lot of writing back there. But it's kind of neat, you know, and then you just go like that and it shuts off. And, or else you can make it whatever degree you want. It works best when you don't have a big light on it. You know what I mean? When you're more in the dark, that's when you know. Oh, I gotta show you. How many of you use AAA? I don't know where I went when I got this little envelope, but I wasn't about to throw it out. But it's my thing for doing, you know, that red thing. You know, finding my contrast and my darks and my lights and stuff. Isn't that great? AAA.
You can buy that on Amazon.
What's that?
You're like,
Okay, that's probably where I got it. Amazon's my friend. Okay, so what was I doing here? Okay, so I'm cutting this out. You know, my favorite time teaching was my last 7 or 8 years when I taught those 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And one of the reasons why it was my favorite time, not only because of that age group, because that age group is just the best, but that's when I finally had a room to myself. I had my own art room. Up until then, I was art on a cart, I was sharing a room with somebody, you know, that kind of thing. You take a cart of supplies and you go to a teacher's room and they're teaching, and you have to go in there and start teaching the kids art, and the teacher's sitting there in the desk, and all of a sudden they'll go, "Sally, you didn't finish your spelling." It's like, oh my gosh. God, I don't know what made me think of that just now. So anyway, oh yes, this is the hard part. Trying to just take that little tiny bit of contact paper off. There we go. Thank you, God, for letting this work. Okay. Okay. Now I've got to figure out where it goes, and the way I figure that out is to go back to my light box. What do you say? Let's see here. There we are. You know, did you ever think you could have been a surgeon? I sometimes think I could have done that, cut somebody open and, you know, done something really accurately, because I feel like sometimes, you know, I'm a Virgo and you're a perfectionist and you just feel like, oh, I could do that brain surgery. But at the same time, when somebody comes up to me with a boo-boo or blood, I don't even watch when they take my, so no, I couldn't, yeah, but it's too bad, you know? Yeah, I should look at it as, you're right, I should look at it as a paint color. All right, so here I have what I'm going to call my dance. I don't know how much of this you can see, but this is the ground, and this rhythm here, and the trunks, and here are my dancers, and here are the clouds. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. All right. So I was picturing this being like a combination of that purple with the shadow violet, and maybe something rust or something like in here. I better get this off of here. We don't need this on there anymore. Oh yes, I left myself a note. I'm a big note taker because my brain stopped working sometime in the past. So I have, yes. Yes, I could read my writing, we'd be in great shape. So, let's see, black trunks, I wrote. Some kind of a washy gamboge in here. Purple and neutral tint wash. Okay, purple and neutral tint we're going to do here. And then the fun clouds. Okay, so let's see what happens. So I better stand up and see what I've got here. So I'm just going to whip away here and make it wet. Now I purposely I'm using a paper here that has no texture, so that's hot press, right? Smooth hot press. Because I thought that if I put contact paper on something, you know, as it is, I'm probably going to have trouble, that has a tooth to it, I could run into a heck of a problem. But happy accidents, happy accidents, happy accidents. We'll see what happens. So I'm right now trying to see where I'm putting wet. I don't know if I mentioned this, the dollar store. These little cups come in handy to, if you want to mix something, like when I'm doing like a portrait. This is a good one, a nice wash of raw sienna and permanent rose. And of course, everybody needs black at any time. You know, you just want it right away. So, you know, you want to have that mixed up ahead of time. Okay, let's say that we're pretty close to getting that wet enough. And like I said, all I can hope for at this point is that the contact paper hasn't lifted somewhere, but happy accidents, right? It's a good thing. All right. All right. So let's play with a little bit of shadow violet. Now again, what did I teach you, Carol? Make sure that the area you're gonna check is wet too. So that's pretty light. So that's safe. That's a safe thing to try. Okay, that's already getting.
Oh, I can hear the music.
Do you ever use frisket paper, which works a lot like the contact paper that you're doing?
I don't know what that is.
It's a lot like that, but it's,
Easier?
well, it's intended to be used with paper,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to contact paper, which is, not that this doesn't work, because it does.
Okay.
But the frisket that you use, that you can continue.
Yeah.
The frisket that you use that you squeeze out also comes in a roll or in sheets. And then you are able to cut out what you want, just like you do that with contact paper.
You just peel it off
And
when
just
you're
peel
done,
it off. And you can use the positive or the negative.
instead of having to take that eraser thing.
Yes.
So I'll look up frisket paper and get on Amazon or somebody, right?
It's amazing.
There should be some more darkness in there. So I'm gonna.
There's a roll, there's a line.
Yeah, that's
Let me see. What color did I want down here? Something gambogy, right? Maybe a combination. Where's my- Let's see what happens here. Better grab another brush. Let's get something going here. We don't know what's going to happen. Okay, what's the opposite of purple? Yellow. Let's see if we can. Bring that right up there. so we've got this horizontal thing going, and we've got this vertical thing going, and we've got the dance going. But I want the purple to be a little darker yet, so I wonder if I should just go to my black. See, now, if I were at home, I'd be sitting here like this, not even saying a word, just dancing in my head to my tunes. But I'll tell you, if you haven't listened to it on Pandora, listen to this thing called Latin, like exercise or whatever you want to call it. Oh, cow. You will not be sitting. It's really, you'll feel so graceful. You'll get up and shake your hips. So yeah, I think it has to be dark under these trees a little bit. What do you think? Maybe a little bit up in there. Just kind of play with it. See, it's distracting to have those puddles on that contact paper, so I'm assuming that stuff that you spoke about doesn't do that?
Nah, probably not.
Oh.
But you can wipe it off.
Let's see. I was thinking of making these trunks black, so that might be enough black for me to play with. Right. Carol Carter was the workshop lady who gave me this little credo, babysit your washes. Right, Marty? I just love that. Babysit your washes.
Don't walk away from them.
Not even if the best song is playing.
Now, is there a reason you're not using any of the powder pigments now?
I was kind of thinking I would do them in this area here for these rocks. I don't know why, but that's kind of where I'm thinking. Yes. What about turquoise? Would turquoise be fun? Like a peacock blue. Let's see what it does. Sneak a couple little kisses of little fun of it. You know what I think would be a fun thing to do, and I think we should do it sometime, is everybody has the same photograph, whatever it is they've all agreed on, and everybody gets a chance to paint the exact same thing and see what happens. I think that would be a hoot. Wouldn't that be a celebration?
We could do that for Show Your Art.
Huh?
We could do it for the Show Your Art.
That would be.
Good idea, good idea.
It's Kathy's idea.
It's 3 minutes of 9.
What? Okay, let me get out the hair dryer thing.
And why don't we call the number?
Marty's drying. Carol's drying, sorry. Here, Marty, will you pick a number? The letter is 423676.
No kidding, that's great.
Good imagination.
You know, when I came up with the idea of doing this, I thought, if it weren't watercolors, if it were just cut out paper like Henri Matisse, that would be another thing. But then I thought, you know, let's see what I can do with this. And that's kind of fun to, unless you're trying to get these things off. Isn't that something? Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up that frisket tape or whatever it was.
You got an idea.
So anyway, now see how there's like this great big shape, it's really not one shape, it's several shapes. So the idea will be to go back to my, where I can just set this underneath it, see? Or I'll just draw it as best I can. Because I wanted to have a little bit of that feeling of overlapping, but not too much, you know? And so now, like, this leaf will have some shadow under it, and this leaf will be different, and this will be like that green, that lovely yellow green. So there you go. Maybe I should do the clouds, because I've already done that one. Yeah, it's getting late. So, should we just stay all night? You have to leave? Well, my clouds are going to look like this. They're going to have, like, they're going to be white and fluffy with just some darkness in the middle. Isn't that kind of fun? But I want the clouds to look like they're going in a direction too, because these trees aren't just dancing for anybody. And this, I think I'm going to use the brush-o things on, and these are going to be black. So
You can take a picture and send it to me.
I will. So what do I have to do? Say the end now? The end.
Say the end.
The end.
Don't we say thank you?
Yeah.
Now you're making me think about my 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. Here I am in this room, and they're like in a, what's it called?
Horseshoe.
Thank you, a horseshoe. And I'm in the middle, and I'm demonstrating what they're going to be doing or whatever. All of a sudden, I hear all this clapping. And I got that every time. It was like, this is a good thing to do for a living, you know? Because I wonder if the classroom teachers get clapped when they spell the word apple correctly on the board or something, you know what I mean? It's like, that's pretty cool. But anyway, thank you for coming. I hope I didn't bore you.